really privileged to have on the air with me Paul Westphal. I remember watching Paul play many years ago. He was a five-time All-Star, won an NBA championship with the Boston Celtics in 1974, coached the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals, also coached Seattle Supersonics and other coaching, and served as a coach of the men's basketball team in Pepperdine University, and even volunteered on to help his son's high school basketball team. So he's done it all. Paul, welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Great. It was a joy to go to a game with you years back. Our mutual friend Scott Volk set that up, and I do appreciate you coming on the air with us. Paul, first, are you surprised, as someone who's been involved with the NBA for many years, that problems are now surfacing with Mr. Sterling?
Oh, I don't think anybody that has been involved very closely with the NBA or even heard the stories is totally surprised. It's the way it came to light is very interesting, and it's troubling. But the fact is that I don't think that anybody is shocked to hear that these are some of the things that he was thinking.
Now, what about the current culture of the NBA? I don't know how it was when you were a player, but for this owner, married 50 years, to have a mistress come to the games with a mistress, and then he says he doesn't want her associating with blacks or bringing them to the game. And it's the latter issue, his racist comments, his ugly comments, that get all the focus. It doesn't seem to be much of a focus that he's got a mistress and has had others. Does that surprise you?
Well, given our culture and the acceptance of almost anything going, no, it really doesn't surprise me. I think that's people look at those kinds of decisions as personal decisions that don't affect other people, even though they're abhorrent to traditional standards of morality. But I think that the one issue that all the owners can get behind, and I'm not minimizing the racial aspect at all, because I think it's very sincere. The way that they have responded to the racist rants, but it's costing them money too to be his partner. If those statements came out publicly, and they did, and they were viewed to support them in any way, it could actually bring the league down. And to me, the bottom line pragmatic issue with all of them, above the morality involved, is that the financial devastation would have been monumental, and they couldn't let that stand.
All right. What on the larger issue in terms of what the NBA is doing here? Of course, he's launched a countersuit, said this is modern day extortion. He's wanted to get $1.7 billion. Obviously, everyone rejects his comments. Obviously, when you've got a league dominated by gifted African American players and many coaches and executives, it makes it all the more bizarre that he could be an owner, have a black coach, have black players, and make the comments he did. But Mark Cuban, the Dallas Mavs owner, made a statement. He made it clear he stood with the NBA and the commission and all that, but was concerned that there could be some kind of a slippery slope. Now, he's not a conservative Christian guy, anything but. But do you think that there's a valid concern that there could be some kind of witch hunt based on other morality or other standards that get imposed?
Oh, absolutely. It's there's a lot of nuance to this, and what we feel in our hearts doesn't always align with what's possible with laws and with like you talk about the slippery slope. I mean, there's a lot of nuance beyond just the outrageousness of what he said and how he's acted. And once lawyers get involved, as we all know, sometimes all bets are off, and what's right doesn't end up being what comes out of people acting under right motives.
All right. Rush Limbaugh had made the statement that he's been informed that they're going to be going after another owner because this owner does not support two men or two women, quote, marrying. Do you actually think that the NBA culture could go in that direction where they'll take something this morally divisive and something that the whole world has agreed on for millennia and make this some type of a guideline that you have to be in support of? Otherwise, you're going to be booted out by other owners. I mean, it seems extreme to me, but Rush seemed to have this from a good source.
Well, it seems extreme to me too, and I doubt if they could pull that off yet. You know what tragic actions people could take down the road and justify them. Who knows? But I still think that there are enough owners and just people of influence that would draw the line there. And if not, we're in a lot more trouble than we think we are.
Right. Yeah, I would hope so as well. Although these days nothing would really surprise me. And now, when when you were in the NBA, Paul, were you a believer at that time?
Yes.
So obviously, just in any setting where you're a celebrity, where you're getting a good amount of money, where people can just want to get near you, when you have things at your fingertips that most of us would never get to touch in a lifetime. Did you find it especially challenging to be in that environment and live out your faith, or to you is it no different than anybody else's situation, just living in a hostile world?
Well, I would say that there's no person in the world that could have every action they've ever been involved in withstand scrutiny.
Right.
And when the magnifying glass is bigger, certainly the risks are greater that any mistakes a person might make might be exposed. So I think that pressure certainly can come to bear on a lot of people, and it's God sees everything we do, and that's really that should be everyone's concern more than what the public sees. But as we know, and as Donald Sterling's found out, that there is no privacy, and the bigger the fishbowl, the less privacy there is, and that certainly should be a concern for everyone, and particularly those in the public eye.
Right. You know what I've been reminded of here. He makes private comments. I don't agree with what Adam Silver said, the commissioner of the NBA. Well, they were private; they are public. I mean, you still have to ask, how did they become public, or can that be pulled on anyone? But it reminds me of Jesus saying, that which is spoken in secret, whispered in secret, is going to be shouted from the rooftops. God knows. The biggest thing is that God knows. And either we're right with him and receiving cleansing from the blood of Jesus, or we're going to have to give account on that day. One other comment that I cited in an article that'll be out shortly, as I mentioned, and Rush Limbaugh mentioned that on his show yesterday. He cited an email that made this claim. You can find 8 NBA players and 1 coach, a total of 9 men who've hooked up with 55 women and produced 72 children over the past few years with no marriages involved. Let's just cast the bigger net, the sports world, the celebrity world today. We don't know if this is true or accurate or not, but when you hear something like that, do you roll your eyes and say, that's just crazy, that's made up? Or do you think, yeah, there's a lot of decadence out there in the world?
Oh, that's not made up. I mean, there are names attached to those numbers that any research can find who those people are that's being discussed there. Our society's more permissive. There's no doubt about it, and it's become exponentially more permissive in our lifetime. And that's why I'm saying that the real issue here is our society allows certain things, doesn't allow for other things, and right now the deal breaker, and I'm not, it's abhorrent, so I'm not arguing with it. The deal breaker is racism, and there are examples of racism going other directions though that aren't as abhorrent to our society, but when people, the marketplace is speaking here more than.
Yeah, tell you what, let me just jump in. You can finish your comments on the other side of the break, and then I had two more quick questions from my guest, NBA great Paul Westphal.
It's The Line of Fire with your host, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
This morning, I spoke to several hundred high school students at Charlotte Christian School, and I was talking about the world they're growing up in, the challenging of it. Middle schoolers sexting each other, and the decadence of the society. If you want to become famous, you put out a sex tape. It is a very different world with all kinds of challenges. And Paul Westphal, my guest, former NBA great. Paul, you were mentioning when we got cut off right at the end of that segment, the permissive society we live in and things extending beyond the NBA. So I just wanted to give you a moment to finish.
Well, I feel like I kind of made my point. It's hard. I don't know how to take it much beyond that, other than to say, to me, the morality of the owners banning Donald Sterling for life is real in their eyes, but it also is because it's a financial decision for them, and their morality might cause them to feel certain ways, but they wouldn't necessarily take the action if they disagree with someone unless they were faced with financial ruin or great financial gain by their actions.
Right, absolutely. On a personal level, Paul, you went from first team All-Star in the NBA, the accolades of everything you did. You've been an NBA coach, so dealing with all the players and the press, the media, and you then helped your son and his high school basketball team. How does that work? I mean, you're a big name, you're a celebrity. How do you go from that to just regular life? Obviously, there's a lesson for everybody here.
Well, it's all regular life, Mike, and I know you know that, but I never tried to do anything in order to get famous. I certainly like getting paid, and if you move up the ladder, you can make a good living. But the main thing is just for to live each day doing what you believe is what you ought to be doing, and at various stages in your life, that.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still here. Yeah.
All right. Thought we lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
All right.
So it seemed like a natural thing.
Yeah, and I appreciate you having that perspective. It didn't go to your head. And everybody's just a regular person. The biggest celebrity, the president, the pope, everybody's just a human being, frail human being who needs the Lord. And it's great you were able to keep your head in the midst of that. I do understand, though, through an anonymous source that you carry a snake in your golf bag.
There's no anonymity in this world, and you know that. Scott Volk is putting that word out about me, and I three-putted once, like 25 years ago, and got the booby prize, which is this snake I have to carry around. And he's been dodging me ever since on the golf course. So
well, here's the truth of it. He actually texted me from the golf course the other day, excited that he had managed to four-putt. That was actually a big step forward for him. So I think that's why he's been avoiding you on the golf course. But we'll try to facilitate that and get that snake out of your bag. Hey, Paul, thanks for the witness you've carried through these years, the integrity you've walked in, and thanks for joining us and giving us firsthand input on the NBA.
Well, I enjoyed the conversation, Mike, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.